What if I told you that in the middle of a live-streamed court hearing, a young man facing the death penalty suddenly dropped a name so shocking, the entire courtroom froze in disbelief? This is the story of Tyler James Robinson, the 22-year-old accused of one of the most shocking political assassinations in recent American history. On September 16, 2025, millions of Americans tuned in to a virtual courtroom in Provo, Utah. The livestream wasn't just another criminal trial. For many, it felt like they were watching history unfold in real time. The man at the center of it all sat in silence. He was dressed in a green anti-suicide vest, the kind issued to inmates considered a risk to themselves. His posture was stiff, almost robotic. His face, blank and emotionless, gave nothing away. It was the face of Tyler James Robinson. Just weeks earlier, Robinson had been an unknown name. But on that day, he was the most talked-about figure in the country. He was accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk, a man loved by millions on the right, hated by millions on the left, and without question one of the loudest voices in America's political arena. The hearing began promptly at 3:00 p.m. Judge Tony Graff presided over the session, his voice steady, his eyes scanning the courtroom. Cameras captured every detail, every blink, every pause, every shift of the defendant's body was broadcast to viewers around the world. When asked to confirm his identity, Robinson leaned slightly forward. His voice was flat, almost lifeless, as he spoke three words: Tyler James Robinson. Those were the only words he would speak that day. Then came the shock. The prosecution announced that the state of Utah would be seeking the death penalty. Gasps rippled through the courtroom and social media lit up instantly. The death penalty, in Utah, a state that hadn't executed anyone since 2010. The charges against Robinson were read one by one: aggravated murder, felony firearm discharge, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and perhaps most disturbing, committing a violent crime in the presence of a child. The list seemed endless, but Robinson didn't react. His expression never changed. To understand how this young man ended up here, we need to go back to the day of the assassination. September 10th, 2025. Charlie Kirk had traveled to Utah Valley University for what was supposed to be a routine stop on his nationwide America's Future Tour. Thousands of students and supporters filled the campus auditorium. The atmosphere was electric, filled with cheers, signs, and chants. Kirk was a polarizing figure, but his supporters adored him. What no one knew at the time was that somewhere on campus, a 22-year-old was already setting a deadly plan into motion. Surveillance footage shows Robinson arriving at the university around 11:50 a.m. Dressed in plain clothes, he carried a backpack slung over his shoulder. He walked with a slight limp, avoided eye contact, and moved calmly through the crowd. He didn't look nervous. He didn't look rushed. He looked like a man who had rehearsed this moment over and over again. By 12:22 p.m., Robinson had positioned himself on a rooftop overlooking the stage. From there, he unpacked a rifle, assembled it with care, and settled into a sniper's position. 1 minute later, at 12:23 p.m., the sound of a single gunshot echoed across the campus. Panic exploded instantly. Charlie Kirk collapsed mid-sentence, struck by a bullet that killed him almost instantly. Students screamed. Security scrambled. Chaos erupted everywhere. In less than 10 seconds, the entire event had transformed from a political rally into one of the most shocking acts of violence in recent American history. Robinson fled the scene, but his escape was sloppy. He left behind bullet casings engraved with strange political symbols and memes. He sent text messages to his roommate confessing what he had done. Police later uncovered a handwritten note in his apartment, a note that detailed his plan to take Kirk out. Investigators pieced together the evidence quickly. The rifle was recovered, and DNA tests tied it directly to Robinson. Even more damning, his parents recognized him in surveillance images released by police. They pleaded with him to surrender, and within hours, Robinson turned himself in peacefully. But the big question remained. Why? Who was Tyler James Robinson, and what drove him to commit such an act? Robinson grew up in a conservative Mormon household in Utah. His parents described him as a quiet, intelligent boy who loved video games and science. But in his late teens, things began to change. He distanced himself from his family, grew resentful of religious teachings, and immersed himself in online communities where political debates often spiraled into extremism. Investigators later revealed that Robinson had a close relationship with his roommate, who was in the process of transitioning. The two shared a small apartment filled with gaming equipment, political books, and handwritten journals. Robinson's writings hinted at anger at religion, anger at conservatives, anger at the world. When asked directly why he killed Kirk, Robinson's response was chillingly simple. "There's too much evil. That guy spreads too much hate." For millions watching, it was a moment of horror. For others, it sparked debates about mental health, political extremism, and whether America's culture wars had finally gone too far. Now, as Robinson faces trial, the nation is divided once again. Should he be executed for his crime? Or does his young age and mental state mean life in prison is more just? One thing is clear. The assassination of Charlie Kirk has reignited a firestorm about political violence in America. It has raised questions about online radicalization, about whether universities are truly safe spaces, and about how fragile public life has become in a country so deeply divided. And at the center of it all is Tyler James Robinson, silent, expressionless, waiting for a jury to decide whether he lives or dies. This case is far from over. In fact, it's only the beginning. The trial will stretch on for months, maybe even years. But no matter the outcome, the image of that young man in a green vest, staring blankly into the camera, has already become one of 2025's most haunting symbols. This is not just the story of a murder. It's the story of a nation grappling with hate, division, and the terrifying consequences of words turned into violence. If you found this video informative, make sure to like, subscribe, and check out the other stories on your screen. See you in the next one.